Hey folks, so I'm back. Hopefully I'll be back more often now that I've got somewhat of a better setup brewing here. So thank you to my 113 followers that continue following. But I want to start off with a not so gentle reminder, I'll say. Because I'm seeing a lot of stuff across the internet that is really getting on my nerves. So we got people in various sections of the internet who are the doom and gloom psychics, who are predicting things such as now is the last time that you have to get out of the country. If you can, then go. And in the future, as in years out, they're predicting alongside things, like telling people to flee, that they're just, crazy dystopian realities, which tells me that they have firmly planted themselves on that timeline. And that's the lens in which they are interpreting their messages, right? It also tells me that they have very little confidence in the American people, that we can do anything to change what's going on. It tells me that they don't think we have it in us to come together as a community when it's time to do so. And it's telling me that they're not paying attention to all of the ways that people are resisting and winning, right? It tells me that they didn't see the meeting with the 800 military men and women who were totally silent throughout that hellish speech of the orange blobs and Kegsbreath, right? So I know that we say use discernment a lot, and I've got a video somewhere on my channel where I talk about what exactly discernment is. But this is a question to the intuitives right now. Where is your discernment? The discernment is not only for your audience, it's also for you as well. And so just as you can channel messages through, like love and compassion, right? What's the word I'm looking for? Unconditional love and hope. You can also channel messages through trauma responses and through fear, and through only seeing one side of the equation. So I just want to encourage you to find your center, because it's Psychic Development 101, where you learn that every insight that you receive is not worth sharing if all it's going to do is whip people into a frenzy and cause more harm than good, and place them in some position of fear and hopelessness, which is the very thing that feeds their narrative, right? That feeds and fuels their story and their agenda. So that's really been like annoying me to no end today. The entire year has been about looking within, getting grounded, asking yourself some questions, shoring up your nervous system, getting stronger right within, getting stronger with your intuition, like cultivating your intuition, cultivating your discernment, building community. So I want to ask to everyone else who's not a reader, have you been doing it? Or are you still waiting on people to tell you what to do and how to feel and what to think? So it is definitely ugly out there. Things are ramping up. We knew they would. We're reaching a crescendo, right? And it'll most likely continue for a while. Hopefully not a long while. But it's not quite over just yet. But that is what happens when towers are fallen. When systems that we relied on are being reduced to ash and rubble. And when a handful of very evil billionaires have a plan. But I encourage you not to get lost in that momentum. Plant your feet on the other trajectory. There has been a massive shift. Many shifts, multiple shifts between the last time that very worn out playbook was actually successful in a full fascist regime takeover, and now, right? What are we talking about? The 1930s, yeah? So stand to the side of it and let it fall and let it fail, because it will. Fail, it will. What we've got to do right now is put momentum and energy and effort towards visualizing what we want, towards living what we want. And we got to really choose our words wisely, because words have power, right? They turn into action that then turns into lived experiences. Abracadabra, yeah? I create as I speak. So, okay, there's my little rant for today. I was going to do another reading because I was out at this place where I provide readings about 3 times a month or so in person. And the reading was so hopeful and so beautiful and so lovely. But all I got to do was kind of shuffle the cards, place them out, and then do a quick read for myself. And I said, okay, I'm going to come back and do that reading on camera. But I'm not in that place right now, energetically. Probably because this has been kind of annoying me. And the speech that we saw with the military, I mean, it was absolutely like WTF. And then we've got the government shutdown and all of that. So I'm just going to pull some cards on those things, and then I'll do the recording of the more beautiful, expansive, higher order concerns reading later. Oh yeah, I took a picture of the cards and a video of me shuffling, so I'll be able to pull them, put them back in order later and get that spread out so I can show you guys. But here, let's just do a little quick 3-card spread on what is the question that I want to ask. Let me just take a breath. I'm chilling. I feel like Lauryn Hill sometimes. I used to dress up for y'all. But I ain't doing that no more. I always got a beanie on. And my around the house clothes. It's okay. Okay, so as I'm shuffling, I guess this is just the first shuffle. I'm not going to let any cards fly out because I haven't picked a question yet. But I want to just, is this the whole deck? I feel slim today. I want to just kind of shuffle and get them shuffled first. So what is my question? Show me what we need to know about, well, that's kind of 2 questions, so. I feel like the military, I'm going to do a 3-card spread on that, and only a 3-card spread, because I feel like they said it very clearly and plainly, and we don't really need to ask no more questions. They protest in subtle ways. So I'm asking about the military here. Do you want me to keep these cards, guys? Okay, 1 more. So what will be the outcome? What do you guys need to show us about the military not meeting? They kind of showed it to us plain and clear. You don't have to be psychic to have read that room. They weren't into it. And so, I mean, I've asked, but I could also just common sense myself into that potential outcome, right? At least the gist of it, maybe not the details. They weren't having it. They didn't look happy to be there. Many people have come on and kind of analyzed it, like to say, hey, you can't have a totally fascist regime takeover if you don't have the military behind you, if you don't have the economy behind you, and if you don't have popularity, right? And they don't have any of those things. They don't have any of those things. So that's good news for us. Also, we've got the protesters out in Portland, where I live, planning tea parties and knitting sit-ins, and ooh, that's too many cards. I'm taking them all back, yes? Okay. And putting donuts on fishing lines. To lure the ice agents out. I saw on one video this car all like decked out in artistic, you know, covering. They have fire, like a little torch flame coming out of the front and out of the back. And they were playing Hot Stepper. Here comes the Hot Stepper. Down the street. I do love my city, and that's the thing about Portlanders. We love it here. You can't come up in here thinking that you're gonna have some takeover. We're gonna bring all the weird out into the middle of the street. That card wanted to come. Okay, is that the card you want me to take? All right. Oh, I might have to pull some clarifiers based on what these cards are, and I might have to go to the book, because what do we got? I could bring you down. I don't know if you can see it that well. They're upside down though, so okay. So we've got, where am I? Oops, sorry. The 6th house. Aries, and Saturn return. Now I will say this card here is already giving me the vibe of where we are leaving on October 13th, right? So we're right now Pluto and Capricorn, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and it's all about structure and order and systems, and that retrograde that Pluto was doing in Capricorn after it left Aquarius, I mean, it was just sort of taking us right back to where we were in that very individualistic state, combing over things with a fine-tooth comb, deciding what to keep and what not to keep. So that card is giving me those vibes. Aries, I might have to pull the book out. I don't quite remember a lot. So I am learning these decks, just to let you know. This is the Celestial Bodies deck, and it's a numerology, astrology, and oracle deck. And so I'm learning more numerology and astrology through these readings. So let's see, what does the 6th house represent? The reality principle, diligence, responsibility, labor, restriction, guilt, conscientiousness, self-discipline, obligation, service. Okay, so I feel like this is just representing the military, as well as that meeting that's sounding just like, you know, what we would attribute to the military, right? Like if we, in terms of these cards here, discipline, restriction, responsibility, routine, rituals of service to ourselves and others, right? And so here this card is kind of encompassing them, as well as that meeting, as well as their obligation to be there, as well as what the Orange Blob and Kegsbreath's focus was to bring them there, to have them pledge fealty, kiss the ring, follow him, right? Didn't he say something like that at the end? Follow me, and nobody got up. So, okay. Then we've got Aries. Aries is hot. Aries is, Aries can be, I won't say volatile, but impulsive, right? That's that next card there. And I just want to read. So I've got a moon in Aries, and I know it always feels to me like that's my impulsivity that I have to sort of quiet so I don't get myself in trouble. I'm going to say Aries is a fire sign as well, and therefore can be somewhat explosive. Oops, wrong book. Okay, where's my book? Okay, Mars, fire, yes, masculine. Beyond vast rolling desert dunes lie enormous pillars of fiery structure and lift into the cosmos. These are ram horns, the ultimate symbol of Aries, an animal who is not afraid to charge forwards, despite the disquiet or the odds stacked against him. Yeah, okay, so that sounds like Kegsbreath and Orange Blob moving forward with some shit. It don't matter. They didn't read the room. Clearly. They don't care. They don't have the other pillars of what it takes to become a fascist. Totally. They're just going to charge forward anyways. I feel like this is talking about the details of the speech. And here, though, the servicemen and women are kind of returning to their oath, reflecting on things that they know and have lived by throughout their years of service, and are deciding, regardless of what they try, regardless of how they expect us to come with them on this very dangerous and deceptive takeover. We're not doing it. We've got our rules we follow that align with the values of the country and the Constitution. And at the end of the day, it's a no. Now, how that may play out, who knows? But I will say, also, we can look back at that video and we can confirm it, right? Their silence said enough. Their lack of clapping and cheering said enough. So, okay, let's pull one clarifier here. Let's see if we need to get any deeper into this, but I'm feeling kind of like anything else you guides you want to add to this meeting on the military and how that might play out for the United States. Ooh, this card wanted to come out. Mars, okay. It's going to be a volatile situation. Ain't going to go down easy, but it might go down swiftly. Because here we have Aries, the gearing up of And then we have Mars busting in, right? Aries, the gearing up of everything that they are, the Orange Blob and Kegsbreath are wanting to accomplish, but everything that the servicemen and women are remembering that, you know, they do not stand for. So there almost feels like there needs to be a square in this spread where things become illuminated through confrontation, right? But here's Mars, the hot planet of action, swift action, chaotic action, methodical action as well. So that tells me they got plans. Both have plans, right? But the servicemen and women do too, because they remember. They are the ones who are well versed, not those two other clowns on stage. They've been training all of their lives to combat the very things that they were asking them to do. So this feels like some swift action coming into play. Anything else you guys want to add? I've always seen the military being involved in, tying a bow on it, saying the end, fin, right? Scene when it comes to the regime. I remember that image that I saw months and months ago where I had tuned in. And so normally I don't use cards. This is just for fun and for teaching myself the decks. But when I work with clients, for example, I just tune in, I connect to their energy, I give them images that I see and the messages that I receive on their behalf. And so some months ago I did that when it came to how does this end and what may potentially bring this to an end. And I always saw the military being involved. I heard boots marching, and that has not changed. Every time I tune in about it, I still hear those same boots marching on the ground in formation. But back then in that image, I saw him on stage, the Orange Blob on stage, kind of connected to this cord that made me feel like it was a digital representation of them, because these images do layer on top of each other, especially when they're dense and they're dark, as this energy is, right? It's not like these are light, feel-good people, working together for the common good of humanity. No, they're who they are. So so he was on stage with this cord connected to him, and as if it's like, I don't know if it's him really, or some projection of him, but the boots, right? So the military single filed into the room and filled the room, and they just continued to march in place. And they had all of these different hats on. The hats kept changing. So like rank and branch and all of these things, right? And I also didn't feel like it was only the United States military, and I guess we'll see how that plays out. And then someone came in behind them with these set of papers and kind of set them on the podium and began to read them, the Orange Blob, his Miranda rights. So that was an image I saw months and months ago. So it's good to see, even though this is sticky and even though this is wicked, the way that they are trying to force the hand of the military through all of the stuff that they were asking them for in that speech and in that meeting yesterday. It's good to see that they are now on the scene in a more direct way, because I never felt like it was the cold blocks, the ICE, agents, or the police. I never felt like that was the image that was a part of the message of the image that I received before, because on the other side of it there was like this old wartime ship that came in across seas, and it gave me this feeling of like the ship has come in. So we'll see where that goes. Guys, do you want me to pull another card on this? Do we pretty much have the narrative? bottom of the deck. Okay. We got a number 7. So 7 is not the completion number. So I feel like this is talking about a person. That's what I feel like. Talking about the seeker and the solitary person. So I feel like there's going to be one person that kind of pulls the lever and says, okay, enough is enough. I know we've got all the high-ranking men and women who kind of left anonymous responses of how this meeting could have been an email, or it was very irresponsible to have us all meeting here together in a place that was disclosed, in a a disclosed location, and anybody could have showed up, right? Oh, and also they were leaving their posts a little more vulnerable by being at the meeting to begin with. So I feel like this is talking about a person, that's well respected, a leader. And possibly just the way that the military resists too, because this is telling me like they like time alone. They often don't let their feelings show. They believe that there must be order in order to realize their fullest potential. So it kind of feels like it's talking about a couple of things, that there might be one potential person that sort of comes and sounds the alarm from who knows which branch, but then also that this encapsulates their stance, the way that they resist, the way that they show resistance, right, to what the orange blob and the drunk dude were trying to get them to co-sign and agree with yesterday. So those very all the silence, but also all of the stone cold facial expressions, right? Couldn't really read them, like they put on those poker faces. And so, okay, so we may not know what's going on behind the scenes for at least a while, but just know that there is movement. Movement towards removing him to rectify the situation. That's what I'm hearing, but we'll see how that plays out, because where many gather, there's lots of free will, and free will always shifts and changes, can shift and change a potential outcome. So we'll see how it goes, but I think the writing's on the wall. Okay, and I will see you guys in another video. But let's just see what the number 7 has to tell us. One last thing. So now that I am feeling better, I gave the other reading. I wanted to circle back around to this card and talk a little more about it. I initially read it as Saturn, but this is about Saturn return. And so there's a slight difference, although Saturn, as we know, even during the return, functions the same way. It asks us to rethink structures, rethink systems, rethink the order of things, rethink how we've put things together, right? And within the context of the eclipse season that we just kind of moved out of, that is still having its effects and will for a while, this Saturn return is having us just, look at all of the things that came up during that eclipse season, personally and on a larger scale. People are having epiphanies, right? They're realizing stuff is off about this, and it's not adding up over here, and wow, did you hear that message? How did I not see how this person was before? So everything is being illuminated right here in a slow rollout before our eyes. And I'll say slow for some, but if you've been paying attention, it's been there all along, right? So this Saturn return is speaking to that. And this card is also about maturation and truth and responsibility and hard work, right? Saturn return happens every 30 years. We have about 3 in our lifetime if we are still around 90, I guess. But it's almost like a forcing of you to look at your shadow and learn your truth and learn more about yourself so you can evolve, so you can mature, and so you can grow. And when we're doing this on a larger scale all together as a collective, well, we can understand why it becomes so volatile, right? And in the context of the question that I asked, what do we need to know about the military in that meeting that they just happened? Well, I mean, it's kind of saying a similar thing that I was saying before about a lot of these military men and women. They've been in their uniforms and in their jobs for decades. They didn't learn the ropes. They have earned moving up through those ranks. They're not following Kegsbreath down some path of immaturity, down some path of toxic masculinity. So this card, it's like Saturn on steroids. Saturn is already a doozy when it shows up. When it's like, hey, time to reset some stuff. Time to look at everything and shore it up. And be diligent and disciplined about it. Well, the servicemen and women already know all about that. That's what they do for a living. So I think it's, like I said, a really good thing. Their show of resistance during that meeting. So, all right, now I am really gonna go.